Okay, so welcome back. Again, I'm Susie and this is Food with the Rumseys. And this is the next stage in canning the chicken stock that I made earlier. As you can see here, I've got the chicken stock. It is still very, very hot. It's not quite boiling, so I'm gonna turn it up so that it gets there. One thing I noticed earlier is I cooled enough of it to taste it. And like I mentioned in the very first video, one of the big differences between chicken stock that tastes good and chicken stock that tastes like dishwater is salt. This definitely needs more salt. So I'm going to add some. And I'm probably adding another tablespoon, but I don't want to go overboard because I would rather be able to adjust salt in any individual recipe I use it in than to worry about it right now. The stuff that you buy in stores is likely going to be plenty salty for any recipe that you're going to want to make. In fact, they sell low sodium on purpose because, again, they want to make it taste good. They're going to add salt, plus it's preserved. Okay, so there's that. Now, I wanted to go over the basics of canning. First, a disclaimer, and I'm going to repeat this disclaimer. My video is going to be very simplistic. I'm very accustomed to the system that I have in place, the particular brand that I have. If you are new to canning, please read up on it much more extensively. I guarantee there are better videos on YouTube that are going to explain it with much more detail than I will, or ask your grandma. It's also a good idea if you've never done it before, the first time to do it with someone, just so that you get the hang of it. So obviously this is the pot. In here I have filled it with probably about 1 inch of water. It calls for a certain number of cups of water in my Presto user's manual, but I have long forgotten what that exact amount is because there is actually a stain on it for exactly how high the water needs to be in the bottom. The other thing that you do is you add a little bit of vinegar. This helps. I'm not sure why. What does the vinegar do, Dave? Do you remember? You don't remember.
I don't remember either.
We're supposed to add vinegar, so we add vinegar. Okay, so then this is the lid. One of the things they tell you is to make sure to check this little rubber band thing here. That it has little knocks in it, but ours is still new enough. I mean, it's probably 10 years old at this point, but we take really good care of it, so it's all ready to go. So then what I would do is I would actually put this on loosely because I need to bring it up to temperature. Once it starts boiling is when we can put jars in and can them. Before I do that, I want to talk about the other things. Right now, in the dishwasher, I have mason jars. I have quart-sized mason jars, and I have them on the sanitize cycle. That does two things. One, obviously, it cleans and sanitizes them, and two, it heats them up enough that I can put hot liquid into a hot jar, into a hot pressure canner, and the glass you don't run any risk of breaking. Plus, with it being sanitized, any kind of creep and crud that's in there is going to be dead, and you are much safer. And when you get the seal, you know that it's shelf stable, and when you open it, you won't get botulism. So always smell your stuff before you actually eat it. When you open it, just FYI. Okay, so then these are the lids. They've got this little rubber seal on them, and these are the bands. These are going to need to be heated up in a little bit of hot water just to soften the rubber, and then without touching any of it, because again, your hands have to be clean, you put it on and you screw it. And I'll show you that in a minute. This is, what do you call this?
A funnel?
A funnel. Thanks, English major. A funnel that is going to help get the liquid into the jars. This is the thing that adds the correct amount of pressure to the canner. So I looked again in my trusty Presto manual, and I saw that it needs 10 pounds of pressure. And so I need both this and this little ring. And once it gets up to temperature, you put it on here, it rocks, it does a thing. I'll show you. This is a jar getter inner outer. That is the official title of it. You pick jars up, you put them in. Later on, you'll pick jars up and take them out. Let's see here. Other things that you might need. This is the bottom plate, actually, that goes inside of this. I forgot to put that in. That keeps it off the bottom. And especially because we have electric heat, it provides distance so that the jars don't break from direct contact with the hot bottom. I think that is it in terms of supplies. I'm going to get everything else ready to go, and then I will show you putting liquid in the jars, screwing them up, and then putting them in the container. Hello again. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be filling jars and putting them into the pressure canner and closing the pressure canner, and then I'll describe what happens after that. This chicken stock is just off the boil. It is very, very hot, and so I'm going to be really careful with it. Behind me in the dishwasher are the jars that I have had on, it's really hot and it's steaming my glasses, so, hot. Okay, so what we do, put the funnel in, it's pretty basic. And yes, I slop some over the sides because I'm a messy cook and I'm okay with that. I will clean up afterwards. So the reason I want to show you actually filling these, because it seems pretty obvious, right? You put the liquid in the jars, is that you have to leave room at the top. So if you can kind of focus in on the jar, I need to leave at least 1 inch of room at the top. And it's sort of the lip of the jar plus a little extra, right? So that's about what I would normally do, okay? And just so I can show you exactly how I do each of them, I'm going to set this aside. Now, I keep just a paper towel that's damp, and this is really hot, so I'm kind of moving around. I make sure to clean off the edge just to make sure any chicken broth got on it that could prevent a seal from forming, right? Here I have some very hot water, and the lids have been soaking. Some people like to boil them. There's different schools of thought because the old way of doing it was that way. Now the seals are different, and you're just softening the rubber. There's also this nifty little tool that has a magnet on it that you can pick them out. We don't have that nifty little tool, so I use tongs, kind of shake off the excess water. I put it on here without touching it. I have a screw band, and then I screw it on, and you have to kind of find the, there we go. Okay, so it gets down to this point, and then I'm gonna really quick go like that. Super hot, and it's finger tightened is what they call it, okay? So my water here is starting to get really hot, and suppose I had all the jars ready to go. It will fit 7 quart-sized jars. So just for explaining in this video, what I would do is the official jar picker upper. You go like this, you pick it up, and you put it down in, and you fit the other ones around them. I'm not going to actually put it in yet because I'm not quite ready with the other jars. And once they're all in, read your manufacturer instructions for how to actually seal the lid. And right now, because it's coming up to a boil and I don't want to lose my water, I'm going to put this back on. Okay, so you seal the lid. Then you're going to wait for it to come up to a boil and for the pressure to build. There's a little button thing back here that's going to go boop and pop up once it starts to really get going, and steam is going to come flooding out of this top piece. Okay, once the steam comes flooding out of this top piece and it's really going strong, you time it for 10 minutes. Once those 10 minutes are up, you go ahead and add your little thingamawatchet, and you add it to the top right here, and then eventually it will start to shake gently back and forth. Once it starts to shake gently back and forth, that's when the time actually starts for canning the chicken stock. Again, according to my Presto user's manual, I know that quart jars of chicken stock take 25 minutes once it gets to that point. So we might do a quick video of once it's up to time and things are shaking, just so you can see what it looks like, and then we'll shoot a video at the end when they come out. Well, welcome back. So I have filled the 7 jars. They are in there, and this thing is starting to spit out a great deal of steam, obviously. And you may not be able to see it in the video, but it is very clear that there is a lot coming out of there. So I am going to set my timer for 10 minutes, and you let it vent for 10 minutes. And after that, then we add the little piggy hopper, and we do the thing. Okay, so the other issue that we ran into, oh, and then this thing popped up. Dave wanted you to notice. I don't know if you can see in the video, but it's a little belly button thing that pops up. Okay, so we ended up having a fair bit of the chicken stock left, and we have a couple options that we could do with that. I could just make a soup right away, but I literally made vegetable soup a few days ago with the last of my chicken stock that was canned, so I don't really need to do that. I don't really want to run another round of the shelf-stable canning, just because you can see it takes some time. Right? So what we're going to do instead is we're going to show you how to quick cool it so that we can go ahead and freeze it, like I mentioned way back in the first video. So we've got a bowl here of ice. Again, my fondness for stainless steel bowls is apparent, and we'll add this one to it. I'm going to squish it down a little bit. This is not nearly as hot since I filled it, and so I'm able just to pick it up and pour it in. And you can see that it's got a really nice color. Now there's some sediment that settles in the bottom, Some of that is the peppercorns that we put in. Some of it is just little bits of chicken and stuff like that that could fit through the metal strainer. And so I left a little bit of it in the bottom. Here we've got this, and then I could take a spoon and I could just start stirring it, and it will cool very, very quickly. When I come back, I will show you how to put it into baggies, or if you have glass containers or other types of containers you like to freeze in, you can do that, and then pop it in the freezer.